We arrived in the Salt Lake City area last night, and tomorrow is the annual conference of the Mormon Transhumanist Association, and this year the focus of the conference is on decentralization and sort of blockchain technologies. And so we're planning to attend to represent the idea that humans don't belong on blockchain. And so before that, we're going to make a couple site visits, and I always feel it's appropriate to try to ground in the place, in the story of the place, because the story is so vital to how we understand how things have unfolded. And so this creek that we're along, it's called Battle Creek, and this is the site of the Battle Creek Massacre. The Salt Lake City region was settled by followers of Brigham Young and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And in 1846, in March of 1846, so right around this time, we're late March, this was early March, the original people to this land, the Timpanogos, they were hunter-gatherer society. They fished and they gathered in the woodlands, and they had been, I guess, taking cattle from the settlers. And Brigham Young said to the military, go do whatever you have to make that stop and take care of those people. That never happens again. And so the military came into the encampment of the Timpanogos people, and before dawn came in and enacted a battle on that space and killed numbers of men, and also took women and children, in their mind, to a better, more hospitable, suitable place in civilization. And so this is the story that we're telling today as we look at the domination principle of man above nature that has extended through these military settlement engagements into now the new empire, which is the digital empire, and that is the metaverse, the mixed reality metaverse, and where we are expected to exist as more than humans, but as human plus, that are blended humans and machines in with biotechnology, nanotechnology, synthetic biology, that we will become centaurs of this new age. And I believe that the idea behind this, some people might think, and I think this is a very small subset of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but those who align with the transhumanists and those who would stand to profit from a digital empire and from synthetic biology, which is many thousands of businesses in the Utah area, is that they justify this by saying that this new form of human would be a transfiguration and closer to God, that God would want them to use this technology to transform natural life into something that is more, I guess they would consider, uplifted. And to my way of thinking, and I think the way of thinking of many people, is that it is hubris to put yourself up alongside God in a creative capacity. That is sort of the height of disrespect for the natural creative force of the sacred in the world. And so I think there is a direct connection between a massacre here on this creek of people who are living in a reciprocity with their environment, who are attuned to their environment, with a civilization that came to dominate the environment and to change it and to remake it through orchards and through cities and now through neuroprosthetics and robot exoskeletons. That this is the struggle. This is the newest version of the struggle. And those of us who can see it, we're faced with the responsibility to challenge that presumption that man can be up there with God as creator, as a molecular bioelectrical engineer of life. So I'd just like to start out with a short passage from We Are Power, because I think a lot of what is transpiring is related to, in many ways, an extension of not only settler colonialism, but also of empire, of World War II, of the Manhattan Project, of the Cold War, which we are now seeing the reverberations again, in which all of us, all of natural life, are the victims and the targets of that scenario. And it has to do with bioelectricity, biophotons, of us as energetic beings in communion with the vast quantum physics space of our reality, but trying to usurp that and put it in between, put an overlay of man-engineered surfaces that are largely military. And so I think in many respects, John Trudell, who is a leader, one of the leaders in the American Indian movement, and a spokesperson, he was very eloquent, and for this view that he wrote this pamphlet called We Are Power, and he delivered it at a conference in 1980 and in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I do want to read the entry part, just so you have a sense of the context in which we're doing our site visits today, and which we plan on attending the conference tomorrow. So this is from We Are Power by John Trudell. I would like to thank you all for coming to this place, and I'd like to give thanks for being welcomed here myself. And I would like to talk tonight in honor of all of us in the struggle who have lost our relations to the spirit world. I would like to talk in honor of the wind, one of the natural elements. This is a survival gathering, and one of the things I hope you will learn while you are here is to appreciate the energy and power that the elements are, that of the sun and the rain and the wind. And I hope you go away from here understanding that this is power. This is the only real, true connection we will ever have to power, our relationship to Mother Earth. We must not become confused. We must not become confused and deceived by their illusions. There is no such thing as military power. There is only military terrorism. And there is no such thing as economic power. There is only one economic within these illusions. And so we will believe they hold the power in their hands, but they do not. All they know is how to do and act in a repressive and brutal way. The power. We are a natural part of the earth. We are an extension of the earth. We are not separate from it. We are part of it. The earth is our mother. The earth is a spirit, and we are an extension of that spirit. We are spirit, and we are power. And they want us to believe that we have to believe in them. That we have to assume these consumer identities, and these political identities, these religious identities, and these racial identities. They want to separate us from our power. They want to separate us from who we are. Genocide. Genocide is just an intellectual way of saying murder, because we live in a so-called civilized industrial world, and because this world is allegedly civilized and allegedly has laws that can't go out and call it an act of murder anymore. They call it genocide to throw another illusion in our eyes, and they have limited our ability to see the necessity for our survival, because they want us to believe that genocide just means physical extinction. We must consider the spiritual genocide they commit against us. The spiritual genocide that white people have been victimized for thousands of years. The spiritual genocide that told them not to respect the earth. The spiritual genocide that told them not to respect the life that is the earth, but to pay all their tribute through the churches to God in heaven, that heaven would take care of them in the afterlife. They tried to take and suppress our natural identity and our spiritual connectedness to the earth. We must move to the time when they truly understand our connection to real power, because these people who deal with illusions and imitations, these men who have attempted to improve upon nature, they want to keep us confused. They want to keep us confused with sexism and ageism and racism and class, and they want to keep us in confusion so that we will continue to believe in one lie after another, as they program them into our minds and into our society. And that's not the whole thing. I would encourage you to find this document and read the entirety of it, but I think that catches the gist of what we're here today. And I feel like this is a journey, and it's a journey each of us are taking, and we're at different steps along the way, but it's an understanding of what the true story is, because we can't understand what's happening with the metaverse and with digital identity and with digital twins and with holographic reality and synthetic programmable illusions until we can take it back to the very origins of this nation that is lifted up as a democracy to the world, and understand how it came to be. And how it came to be was in places like this creek, and the people who were murdered here, and the genocide that was attempted here. Not just in individual bodies, but in cultures and language and spiritual beliefs and understandings of the world. This was not about harmony, this was about domination, and this was about theft of resources. And now that we are all in this larger net that's been cast. But I do believe that as this is about power, the extent to which they use their nanotechnology to wreak what they call sort of technological magic at this minute level that is invisible to the rest of us without the electron microscopes, that from the heart space, from an authentic and true heart space, that we can change the frequency of this, each of us in our own way, to acknowledge where we've come to so that we can find a path ahead that isn't on blockchain. And so I felt it was really important to come here to acknowledge this, because the history is still obscured. The trailhead to this park, it had a stone monument with a plaque to this event that was acknowledging the shared cost of that military engagement. And I think that it's still a way of shoving off to the side our responsibilities to what has happened. We need to own the attempted erasure we did to the original peoples of this land, so that we too can be truly our own beings united with nature. And until that happens, we will still experience this disconnect and experience living in a world of programming, digital programming, more and more digital programming, until they just digitize us as molecules and ones and zeros. So there's much healing to be done. And I say this from a way of saying it's an opportunity. I'm not saying this from a point of dourness or fear. It is a tremendous opportunity we have been gifted if we can be not confused, if we do not give in to the confusion that is put upon us, and we know the truth of our hearts is that we need to build a relationship of care to the natural world and to one another and to the children who are being swept into this digital metaverse reality. And so I'm just coming in my small way today to tell this story, to provide this framing. I brought the mothers who've come with us, the poppets, and that we may sing because it's frequency and vibration. It's a vibration of love and healing that is what we need. But it has to be authentic, and it has to come from the heart space. So I brought with me some dandelions that have been gifted to us, because again, I feel like the dandelions are a sense of this abundant love and possibility, and of raising from the earth in a reciprocal way the goodness of the earth to bring healing, which is what the dandelion does. It heals the liver, it heals the bile and the anger. And so someone also gave me some beautiful cedar shavings, I believe from North Carolina, and then I'm bringing an acorn from the East Coast. And we have this all on a leaf from here, and I will send it on the water. But before that, I have a heart that was gifted to me by another mother and a grandmother in upstate New York, where on the lands of the Onondaga Nation. And so she gave me these hearts, and I believe that really love is the answer. Honesty and love. And so I'm going to leave the heart as an offering of our hopes for healing this terrible wound that has been caused for so many centuries, and an indication that we're trying to make progress.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I just want to say thank you, Lori, for the heart. Okay, we have an acorn, we have some cedar, and we have some shavings and some dandelion. So, and just to close here, I have a friend who was telling me a story out of the Bible. It was about Elijah, and that he was essentially providing insights to protect people from raiders, the raiders that we imagine here. And the person who was doing the raiding was upset, so he went to go capture Elijah, and they surrounded him with chariots and in the night. And the servant came out and saw the chariots and thought, oh, all is lost. All is lost. There's no way we can overcome all of these chariots. And then Elijah said to the servant, may he see the light, may he see the truth. And then when he looked back, there were chariots, fiery chariots of God all around the man-made chariots, right? And he was able to say, let these men in the chariots be blind. And he led them to the king. And then he said, let them see again. And the king said, shall we kill all of these charioteers? And Elijah said, no, you wouldn't kill your captives. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do what happened here. But you would feed them and give them food and drink and send them on their way, which is what they did. They told them not to come back, and they didn't come back. And so I feel like sometimes we feel very overwhelmed with the scale of this engagement. It's an engagement between the sacred and the profane. But there are forces well beyond our capacity to sense them with our limited five senses that are on the side of life and on the side of nature. I truly believe that no matter what your practice of your faith is, that there is something in this beautiful, amazing universe that brings us butterflies and ancient rocks and water that would not let this all be turned into a military video game. It just is not going to happen. So we have to know that, and we have to go ahead without fear, and also with an acknowledgement that there will be time for recompense and restoration. So I think we're like these little flowers. We're like these little seeds, right? They seem so tiny, and some people would call them weeds, and yet they have this potential to change the landscape, to crack the rocks, and to make things better. So don't underestimate our power. We are power, as John Trudell has said. We are power, and we are with nature and the greater sacred beings of the world to do what's right. And this is an amazing opportunity for us to be here and do what's right. So thank you.